Tonight on The ReidOut.
And when he finished discussing what he planned on doing, I said, good, excuse me, sorry, a-hole. Congratulations, you just admitted a first step or act you take as Attorney General would be committing a felony and violating Rule 6C. You're clearly the right candidate for this job.
Gripping testimony today about Jeffrey Clark, who was fully committed to corrupting the DOJ on Trump's behalf. And if not for a handful of sane lawyers, Trump might have gotten away with the theft of the 2020 election. Plus, documentary filmmaker Alex Holder joins me after his meeting today with the January 6th committee. He's turned over more than 11 hours of footage of Donald Trump and his family before and after the 2020 election. And we have an exclusive new clip from his Trump docuseries. But first, today's explosive 5th January 6th committee hearing and the former president's plot to strong-arm Justice Department leadership into keeping him in power. Today, the committee drilled down on the former president's effort to find a malleable attorney general to legitimize his lies about the election, namely DOJ lawyer Jeffrey Clark, and his attempts to take over the entire Justice Department to advance a coup on the president's behalf. Today, we learned more about a January 3rd meeting where Clark made a case to the president to fire then acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen and to appoint him as Attorney General. Here, in the words of Justice Department officials who all threatened to resign if the scheme went ahead and warned of even worse.
I said, Mr. President, within 24, 48, 72 hours, you could have hundreds and hundreds of resignations of the leadership of your entire Justice Department because of your actions. What's that going to say about you?
All anyone is going to sort of think about when they see this, no one is going to read this letter. All anyone is going to think is that you went through 2 attorneys general in 2 weeks until you found the environmental guy to sign this thing. And so the story is not going to be that the Department of Justice has found massive corruption that would have changed the result of the election. It's going to be the disaster of Jeff Clark. And I think at that point, Pat Cipollone said, yeah, this is a murder-suicide pact, this letter.
That letter was drafted by Clark to send to Georgia and other states, claiming that the Justice Department had found election irregularities that would affect the result, even though there were none, saying the legislatures could then call a special session. And Deputy Attorney General Richard Donoghue said he rejected it immediately.
There were, in my response, I explained a number of reasons this is not the department's role to suggest or dictate to state legislatures how they should select their electors. But more importantly, this was not based on fact. This was actually contrary to the facts as developed by department investigations over the last several weeks and months. So I responded to that, and for the department to insert itself into the political process this way, I think would have had grave consequences for the country. It may very well have spiraled us into a constitutional crisis.
The committee also divulged for the first time the names of members of Congress who actively sought or discussed presidential pardons related to their efforts surrounding January 6th.
Mr. Gates had reached out to me to ask if he could have a meeting with Mr. Meadows about receiving a presidential pardon.
Did they all contact you?
Not all of them, but several of them did.
So you mentioned Mr. Gates, Mr. Brooks.
Mr. Biggs did. Mr. Jordan talked about congressional pardons, but he never asked me for one. Mr. Gomer asked for one as well. Mr. Perry asked for a pardon too. I'm sorry, I need to finish.
Mr. Perry, did he talk to you directly?
Yes, he did.
Did Marjorie Taylor Greene contact you?
No, she didn't contact me about it. I heard that she had asked White House Counsel's Office for a pardon from Mr. Philbin, but I didn't frequently communicate with Ms. Greene.
The members named participated in a December 21st strategy session with Trump, and several have been sent requests for information by the committee. For his part, Jeffrey Clark, whose home was searched Wednesday by federal agents, pleaded the fifth more than 100 times when questioned by the committee, and added this when asked about his fake fraud claims letter.
Did you discuss this draft letter to Georgia officials with the President of the United States?
Fifth, and executive privilege, again, just restated for the abundance of caution.
I'm joined now by Lawrence O'Donnell, host of The Last Word here on MSNBC and my wonderful co-pilot here for this sort of early reaction to what we heard today. I was struck, Lawrence, by the relentlessness of Jeffrey Clark. I mean, just relentlessness, just coming back and back and back, trying to get hold of the Department of Justice to use it for this, but also of Mr. Perry. I mean, these were people who were relentless in putting this together. What struck you today?
Well, Jeffrey Clark is the character at the center of this whole story today. And I think the whole plot, the Jeffrey Clark plot, failed because of Jeffrey Clark himself, because of who Donald Trump saw in that room on January 3rd, when the real people from the Justice Department showed up, and Jeffrey Clark had to take his position in relation to them. And they sat there personally insulting Jeffrey Clark to his face. And, you know, the big tough guy, fake tough guy at the desk in the Oval Office is watching this. And for him, what he's seeing in character terms is this wimp is being banged around this room by these other guys. And, oh, by the way, these guys are telling you, after we all quit, after 150 of us walk out the door on day one, everyone else in the building is going to treat this guy the way we are treating this guy in this room. And Trump's looking at that guy saying, can he be my guy? Can he be my guy to carry out the rest of this plot? And he sat there and decided, based in that, you know, goofy TV show version of life of his, he's looking at this guy and he's going, this guy can't do it. This guy can't be my apprentice attorney general.
The thing that is so striking, the idea of Donahue in his dirty, you know, jeans and T-shirt. He says, no, you come sit right here. He had this sort of star chamber of people judging Jeffrey Clark in front of him. It really was sort of like The Apprentice. And he said, there's one point at which I think it was Donahue who says, do you think if this guy goes marching down to Chris Wray's office in the FBI, that anyone at the FBI is going to take him seriously when he's going to take a command of 150,000 staff and suddenly direct the whole ship of state to investigate this BS? And after a while, Trump is like, you know what? No.
and on that point, beginning with, does he know how to find it? Does he know how to find
the office?
The FBI director's office? It was all this very personally insulting thing. In other words, it's the kind of stuff that Trump understands. Trump understands the kid in the classroom who's just being, you know, dumped on by everybody else, and he doesn't want to be around that person.
Let me play really quickly. This is Jeffrey Rosen describing, he starts by saying, you know, I wouldn't mind being replaced by the guy on my left or the guy on my right. Like, those guys can replace me, but not this guy. This is cut 5 from my producers, describing how he was asked to stay on as this inadequate man's assistant.
Because he thought it would be appropriate in light of what was happening to at least offer me that I could stay on as his deputy. I thought that was preposterous. I told him that was nonsensical and that there's no universe where I was going to do that, to stay on and support someone else doing things that were not consistent with what I thought should be done. So I didn't accept that offer, if I can put it that way.
It's the disrespect. It's the disrespect for me. Okay, let's bring in Congressman Adam Schiff of California. He's a member of the House Select Committee on the January 6th attack. Thank you for being here. I want to play another clip for you, Congressman. This is Richard Donahue again, and he's describing how he tried to walk Donald Trump through, point by point, the ways in which his fraud claims were wrong. Take a look. This is cut 2 from my producers.
We went through a series of others. The truck driver who claimed to have moved an entire tractor trailer of ballots from New York to Pennsylvania. He wanted to talk a great deal about Georgia, the State Farm Arena video, which he believed, for various reasons, was, as he said it, fraud staring you right in the face.
Were any of the allegations he brought up found credible? Did you find any of them credible?
No.
Congressman Schiff, Donald Trump's best defense here is that he genuinely believed that he had won the election and that it had been stolen and that there was massive fraud. Are you convinced, after listening to Mr. Donahue and others describe how they walked him through it and how William Barr walked him through it and how basically every credible person told him it wasn't real, are you convinced that Donald Trump was genuinely convinced that he had lost the election?
Yes, I think he understood that he lost the election. And, you know, we see the same pattern today that we saw with the Justice Department, you know, with the state legislators and with others, where they go through these different allegations of fraud, and he's told over and over again, there's no there. That's false. That's false. That's absurd. And kind of at the end of the conversation, he retreats to, well, just say there's fraud and let me take care of the rest, me and the Republican congressman. That's basically the message. And, and you could hear, for example, in a call with Secretary of State from Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, he goes through all the same drill. What about this allegation? What about that allegation? All of them are shot down. And at the very end, it's like, come on, fellas, I just need 11,000 votes. So, yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's trying to browbeat people into doing what he wants. He finds the one guy at the Justice Department, this environmental lawyer, who apparently has no scruple and will do whatever he needs to do to get that job. And I think, as you were pointing out, Lawrence, he looks at the rest of the room and he's like, okay, I can't do this. And I spent almost 6 years in the department. These are serious people, the Department of Justice. They were not about to go along with this. And thank goodness they didn't, because if they hadn't stood up, if there hadn't been the threat of mass resignations, Trump would have gone through this.